Are we on 10? 10? Yes. Hello, and thank you for tuning into a retrospective review presented by No Fear Network. I'm your reviewer, Jordan, and along with me, we have...
This is Miles.
Cool. And just some house cleaning and clarifications. The theme music is by Corey Harris, and on the piano is Henry Butler. And this program and network is a community-based collaborative and is an open invitation to David Diamond, Ed Burns, David Mills, Charles S. Dutton, as well as the entire cast and crew and community involved in making and performing this miniseries. As well as this program and network is an open invitation to those listening and are interested in being part of our program and would like to participate. We'd gladly love to hear your thoughts and perspectives of the show, the network, and the program.
And so today we're doing The Corner, Episode 2. The Wikipedia description is, the title of it is DeAndre's Blues, directed by Charles S. Dutton, written by David Simmons and David Mills. It originally aired on April 23rd of 2000, and the network that hosted it was HBO. So this description says that they're the true stories of Baltimore, Maryland, saying that I can jail if I have to. DeAndre spends his life walking a fine line between childhood and maturity, a very fine line, since both of his parents are addicts, and he's been dealing drugs since he was 13 years old. DeAndre hangs out with his girlfriend Tarika while struggling to attend school so he can achieve a promotion from the 9th grade to the 10th grade. Getting into fights with his mother, Fran, he leaves to stay with his father, Gary, who ends up stealing some of his dress.
Cool. Thank you so much, Miles. And so, what was your initial thoughts of the episode? Or do you want me to go first, or it doesn't matter?
It doesn't matter. I mean, my initial thoughts of episode 2, it reminded me of college for some reason.
Okay.
Just the way that, DeAndre moves out of the house and stuff like that. And so it's like, when you move out of the house and you go away for college, you finally get, your own room, so you get to set it up the way you wanted it, and then you just kind of try to figure out life from there. It's like the ultimate and total freedom of like whatever you want to do, you can do, and then you just got to accept the consequences that come with it. So that's how I felt about like episode 2, just like college, just all alone and just figuring it out by yourself.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
I was like very I was very interested in like your perspective of DeAndre's world, because I just felt like you guys are just similar and close to age, it's just very nice to see one person's perspective that is similar to him in this sort of way to today. This is back in 93 and now this is 2018, and just still seeing that, is there still a similarity there and stuff. For me, I'm always going back and forth with the book as well as watching the show. And so it was nice to learn about DeAndre, to learn, to watch, to listen and see and read his thoughts and mindsets of just how he was struggling on the corner. It was cool to see the interaction between him and his mother, but also seeing the interaction with his friends, his brother, his father, teachers, his dealer, his supplier. Just seeing a 15-year-old kid already knowing how to play the game, because he's smart. He at the end of the day, he's resilient. And so, what were your thoughts on DeAndre's introduction with Charles? Did you have any thoughts on that, or?
My thoughts. I mean, I'm starting to see a pattern with like episode 1 and now episode 2. I think when Charles like asks a difficult question, they aren't able to answer it, and then we'll like dive into the story.
Yeah.
But I think for the introduction with DeAndre, it showed how smart and real he is. You know, he would like he jokes around that the fact that he sells drugs and stuff like that. He understands the repercussions that can come with it, because he has to deal with cops always doing their like daily routines of checking him and putting him to the floor, and just to make sure like he doesn't have drugs on him, and they already know what to do. You know, like if you just pick someone off the like street, something like that, like I felt like anybody in Orange County wouldn't know what to do. You know what I'm saying? Like people, I think he's already at a higher level of intelligence that most people don't have yet.
Yeah.
And he's only, what, 15?
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, I just think he's just, it just shows how smart he was and stuff like that, because, I mean, he understands, like I said, the repercussions of what he does, because he even says, like, do people die out here for real? Like, I'm not just saying that just to, like, flex on anybody. Like, people really die out here. Like, it's real here. Like, just because I don't go to like a nice prestigious school or in a good neighborhood or something like that doesn't mean I don't know anything. Like just how he's like when he says I forget the word that Charles uses.
Oh, melodramatic.
Yeah, melodramatic.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And like DeAndre already knows what he's talking about. Like just because he's like, I know what that word means. Like, don't assume that I don't know things. So I think. Yeah, it just shows how smart DeAndre is.
Right.
At a young age.
Yeah. Yeah. Because just for me, and just seeing how, if I can relate to DeAndre, I see that in the book it says DeAndre McCullough doesn't bend and he doesn't forgive and he never forgets. He's just really about the struggle and stuff. And just seeing that from him, I can relate. I can relate to him, because even in the book it was saying that in nursery school he already clocked a girl with a chair. And by age 10 he was already sent to a Big Brother program, hoping that a role model would work, but it didn't work out. And so he resists authority at a young age. The same thing with me when I was going to the Catholic schools here. I know in kindergarten, they really had a lot of trouble with me, and I was like moving tables. I was just angry, and I don't know, maybe at the end of the day, it's something that was in him that perhaps is already innately like in you. Just that fact that you already have to start resisting at an early age, because you just don't know how people are gonna come at you. And so yeah, I think what Charles had to say to him, and then just if I can relate to him. Yeah, could you relate to him?
I think to a sense, he just reminded me of like, you know, being a teenager and, you know, you thinking you know everything at like that age, because like, no, like I've thought through it, like this is what happens when this happens and so on and so forth. You know, like at that age, I probably didn't have all the answers, but, you know, with our parental guidance and stuff like that, and being in, or putting ourselves in situations that we've been in 1,000 times and stuff like that, you kind of like know how things happen. And so it's not a sense of like, oh, I know everything or I'm a know-it-all. It's just like, I've been exposed to this situation so many times that I know what's going to happen. You know what I'm saying? It's not like, I'm not trying to defy you or be like a smart ass, you know.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just saying, like, if I get in trouble, I'm gonna get beat.
Mm-hmm.
That's what's gonna happen.
Yeah.
And you just like you kind of just accept it. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? I'm not saying like, oh, what are you gonna do? Hit me now? And be like, no. It's like I know it's gonna happen. You know, it's like
Mm-hmm.
I've gotten in trouble before, and this is what happens. Now that happened one time, but then I did it, you know, 10 more times, and guess what? Same result happened. So I'm not saying I'm a know-it-all. Just know what's gonna happen. You know?
Yeah, it's definitely like that saying. I definitely go by that saying, fool me once, shame on you, fool me twice, shame on me. So it's like,
Yeah.
it just really goes by that saying.
Yeah.
What about DeAndre's quote? Like in the beginning when he's saying, I can jail if I have to. What did you think about that quote?
I thought it was more along the lines of I've heard something so many times about like something that like I was trying to relate it to like maybe like a workout or something like super hard, but like you know you've heard stories about it so many times that you pretty much felt like you've been there already. So I thought of that as like what he was saying about jail because he's probably heard people do jail or serve time so many times in so many different ways that he's like, man, I could do that. Like, he's like, they had us like line up and then they had us like walk this, walk that, made us eat here, had to like get in fights, blah 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 blah. And so like, well, if I simulate that in the outside environment, I'm pretty sure I could do it in that environment too. So I just think that's what he means by that. He's like, I've heard people serve time so many times that he feels like he can do it just as easily as they did.
Yeah.
That's what I think.
Because he's also seeing people, I'm assuming, coming out as well. So it's like, you know, if it's just one day. Because his dad, in the previous episode, he was just there for like the weekend and then,
came out.
Yeah, and came out. And so with this quote, it really like reminds me of just Gidot's lyrics from his earlier works when he initially started out with like Overly Dedicated in Section 80. Just about where he raps about when he's younger and it was cool going to jail without really realizing the reality of it all. It just reminds me back to Gary's quote of the mind is the most powerful thing. And so just having that sense of concept, like I can jail if I have to. It's like, man, like that's where your mind is at. But you know, unfortunately, the mindset that he's in, I don't know. I can't really say anymore because it seems cool.
Yeah.
You know, especially for a teenager. It just seems cool at the end of the day. How about like his next quote, taking care of self for a long time?
I just see that as he didn't have the parental guidance or presence that other kids are fortunate to have. So as you know, his mom and dad got like addicted to heroin and stuff like that. They weren't around just to take care of him. They probably didn't have food ready for him, or they were just too drugged out. And so, you know, as that quote goes on, is like as he said in like the intro, like how you see how smart he is, and like you know he can adapt to situation because he's been in it so many times. It's like, well, he knows when mom and dad are too drugged out, he's gonna have to figure it out by himself.
Yeah.
And so I feel like when he says that, it just reflects on how he had to grow up a lot faster than other kids did.
Right.
Because he didn't have all that parental care to take care of him, so he had to just take care of himself.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, because with this quote, I kind of looked at the book, and when he's taking care of himself for a long time, it says arriving at the alley entrance to Fairmount, he takes stock of his real estate. This is mine, he thinks. Watching the touts work the crowd, I made it happen. Ain't no kid stuff. And so, you know, with him and solidifying his corner, you know, he really put in a lot of work into that. And to do that, he had to take care of himself. If he's only 15 and he's already have a real estate, I mean, maybe it took him a year, maybe 6 months, but just to think that already at 15, I was I doing calculus maybe? You know, I wasn't thinking business like, you know, he's already that businessman. And so having to just already take care of himself, and like you said, just seeing from his parents, you know, being too drugged out, like, well, okay, I have to do it. It's, where am I going to eat today? I know I have to do it today, and stuff like that. Because then it kind of makes you wonder about his grandparents in a way. Like, if his parents were too drugged out, did he go to his grandparents? Because, like, throughout this, I mean, we haven't gone through the whole episode yet, but thus far, you know, we haven't seen him with his
they haven't had any interaction with their grandparents.
Yeah.
The only person that has like an interaction with them is Gary.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. So it's just kind of interesting that his grandparents can live literally right across the corner, or right across the street.
Yeah.
And it's like he's unable to go over there and stuff. So that's interesting. What about his conversation with the cops? What did you think about that?
I feel like my answers are like kind of like reiterating each other, but it just seems like, you know, a typical teenager, a conversation between a teenager and a parent, or the parent lectures and the teenager rolls his eyes thinking they know everything because they've been in that situation 1,000 times.
Right.
But I think what like was different was like at the end when DeAndre was like gonna finish that cop sentence, but he says, like, no, like, I'm not gonna waste my time trying to like educate the youth. And he says, like, you know, like, don't do this on my corner because I can pick you out like from a mile away because of like what you look like. Not like that's a whole racial thing. It's just like he's the only guy with dreads.
Yeah.
You know, like I was like, oh, okay, wow. And then like DeAndre kind of like steps back. He's like, oh shoot, like yeah, I am the dude. I'm the only dude with dreads like on the corner who looks like this or has these kind of clothes and stuff like that. So I thought that made like DeAndre maybe like take a step back a little bit, maybe like reanalyze his strategy of how to like sell again. But I don't know. I thought that was kind of interesting to see that interaction, which was funny because those cops seem like super friendly.
Yeah.
They don't seem like, you know, like we're gonna like put you in the dirt or anything like that. They're just like they're just doing their job, honestly.
Yeah. And
they just have to like. And I think it's more of like when you just see someone every day, you just kind of like build a relationship without trying to build a relationship. And this was like one of those situations. He's like, "Oh, got you again, DeAndre." He's all like, "Blah blah 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 blah."
Right.
But yeah, I think it was an interesting conversation for sure. It shed a light on the police department of the show.
Yeah.
It doesn't seem so like, oh, we hate everybody in here. It's just more of like, man, we see you every day. Like, when are you gonna change?
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
But yeah, they don't seem like too like they're the man in the situation. They're just trying to clean up their own corner.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, because with his conversation with the cops, it's very, you know, it's very laid back.
Yeah,
it's very chill.
Super laid back.
Like, you know, even though he has the haircut right there, it's like, so what are y'all eating tonight? And stuff.
That's so true. Yeah.
Is your wife like, you know, like, how's your son's baseball game? How did that go? You know, but and then when you were talking about just his conversation with the cops, it just kind of reminded me here and with the PD over here who has, you know, connections to certain groups around here, and it's kind of like I wonder their conversation is, you know, friendly and stuff, but you know, I'm not gonna lie, I went ahead and called the cops on someone here, because it was a Tuesday, 10 o'clock in the evening. You guys are parked right in front of the house. You guys are talking really loud. This is like the third day. So I went ahead and called the cops, but the cops, they came in and they were really cool with them, you know, because they did have cannabis on them, but they were like, it's legal, so we're not gonna bust you. But they were just like, you know, it's just a noise complaint, that's all. But it's like, it's something that, you know, not all cops, even though in the first episode and even throughout, they really did show the cops like, get down, you know, do your thing, but they're still friendly, they're still cool, they're still, you know, it's not all cops are bad, but it's cool to show him, like, to give him some sort of advice, you know, to say, yo, if you don't want to get caught, you know, cut the dreads.
They might want to cut your hair.
It's like, you gotta blend in, man, you gotta blend in and stuff. What about him, like, reflecting on the past, you know, still thinking like a kid, still want to be a kid? Like, what did you think?
Okay, so this is one I kind of dove into a little bit.
Okay, cool.
So whenever we see DeAndre reflect on the past, I don't think he has the mind of a kid anymore. Like I said, like in the beginning, it showed how intelligent he was, just to know the realness that comes with the lifestyle he has. His intelligence is shown, for instance, when he breaks down that Diamond Group's like whole drug operation from his crew without even like interviewing a single member from the Diamond Crew. They literally stayed up in an apartment, and they viewed it through a window, and he like literally broke it down by just observing them for such a long time. Didn't even have to talk to anybody. He already like knew what they were doing and stuff like that. So it's crazy to see how well in tune he is with the streets, whereas school kind of gets the back burner. But honestly, that's kind of the typical attitude for most kids, for most kids towards school, because like, you know, school sucks. You know, you have to be there for long hours. It seems like forever, and you're just, you know, learning stuff that you might think like, when the hell am I going to use this ever in the real world and stuff, unless I get called into a game show and see if you're smarter than a fifth grader or something like that. But like, you know, school sucks, but it's just something you got to do, because I mean, if you're not educated, then you're pretty much, I don't know, I don't want to say like you're useless, but like you're not helping yourself. You're not helping yourself get to a better situation that you think you want to have. You know, like if you want to have all these nice things, you gotta be like, you gotta educate yourself on how to get those things. You can't just get by. No one just got by and got rich. You know what I'm saying? Like, no one, that doesn't happen unless you win the lottery and then you just happen to just be a millionaire out of nowhere. But going back to his flashbacks, I think his flashbacks are just like episodes of escapes or nostalgia, where he goes back to a time where, or he goes back to those like situations where he's been in that situation before, kind of. I want to say like the instance where, you know, when he first moved out of his mom's house and went to his dad's place, you know, when he had that room and he was like sweeping it up and like getting it just the way he wanted it, it kind of reminded him of that situation where they moved into that new house. And so it was probably like nostalgia instead of thinking like a kid again. And I think the similarities between Gary and DeAndre's, both of them remember times where it was a lot better than their current situation. Like everything and everyone was clean, the neighborhoods were nicer, brighter colors, etc. So whenever like Gary flashes back, everything's like colorful, sun's out, people are singing. You know, whereas where DeAndre flashes back, it just seems like the same kind of style, brighter colors, nicer neighborhoods and stuff like that. And I think some of the differences of Gary's and DeAndre's flashbacks, I think Gary's flashbacks are flashbacks of like a before and after picture. You know what I'm saying? So it tells us, what did I say? it tells us how he got in the situation that he's currently in, whereas DeAndre's flashbacks are like aha moments.
Oh.
Like when like aha moments, like early lessons we didn't understand as a kid, but when we get older now we get it. Like having your own place, or understanding the value of $1 and the hard work that went into making that money. So like when Gary gives DeAndre $1 when he's a kid, and friends are like, "What? He doesn't know anything about that. He's like, well, I'm teaching him like the value of money. Like he's gonna have to learn sometime." And then so that flashes back to when DeAndre was working at that like crab shack place, just understanding the value of hard work and what goes into making like, your own money.
Yeah.
And so I think from there, I go into D-Rod's juxtaposition.
Yeah.
That was my take on the like similarities in the flashbacks and stuff like that.
Yeah. Cool. Nice. Yeah. Yeah, because with the part that where he was breaking it down for Boo and for his crew of like, this is how the corner is, he knows how to play that game, because it's basically a sports game. It's like, this is how you run the play, and this is how it goes and stuff. And so with like his father and son similarities, like since we now see that progression in Gary and Fran's relationship, where now they're married, grown up. DeAndre is about like 5 to 7. He's still able to remember the good times when his parents were doing good before the drugs. And so we're now introduced that they had that affluent, prosperous lifestyle. And so I don't know if like you said, I do agree that he isn't really still thinking like a kid. Because with him, I love the fact that, with you saying that when he's reflecting about the past, it's a form of nostalgia. I liked that part that you said too. And I think he isn't a kid anymore. At the end of the day, he isn't. I wish I had more to say, but it's but the juxtaposition of his younger brother, of D-Rod's upbringing versus his upbringing. It's sad to see his younger brother doesn't have that same sort of memory that DeAndre has, but you never know that D-Rod could be the happiest kid there is once he saw all the presents that his brother gave him on his birthday. So because the happiest person is the poorest, and stuff. So you just really never really know. And so then it kind of then goes to, I guess, going back to his street smarts and versus his book smarts. He has both. It's just about what his principal said. It's about applying yourself. And that's really hard, because at the end of the day, he's 15 years old. He's going to school and he has a job. Doing that work-life balance, doing school and work is super hard. Like everyone starts doing that in college. I know I started doing that, when I was like DeAndre's age. It was kind of here and there, but it's really hard to work and go to school. And then especially when you see that attraction from the corner, it's like, I can make $200 in 15 minutes, in an hour. And it's like, and right now, if I go to school, my parents are being drugged up while I'm in school, so I have to find a way to see when my next meal is going to be, and not only that, when my brother's next meal is going to be. because I'm hoping that he's also looking out for his brother. But 15 years old, at the end of the day, you're so self-centered that because even in the episode when it begins and when we first are introduced to DeAndre and D-Rod, he's already fighting with his brother, to say like this is a way to start preparing, even though I know he's not really saying that, but it's like,
but like he really means like you're gonna have to fight for yourself at some point, because like when he was growing up, he didn't have anybody.
Right.
He didn't have anybody to like defend him or help him through that. He just had to do it himself. So I think he's doing that as a way to, look after his little brother D-Rod. And on that note, I was just like, I think, like you said, D-Rod might be the happiest kid, and we don't even know it because he doesn't know anything. He doesn't know any better. Because like, as much as like parents want to be parents, I think Fran tries to do a good enough job by hiding all the drugs and stuff like that. Whereas she like goes downstairs to like do all the drugs and just doesn't do it like in his view. So that she tries to do enough, but and D-Rod doesn't even know any better. He's just like, oh, mom goes downstairs and then she comes back up. So he doesn't know anything. Whereas I think DeAndre, had a rougher upbringing than D-Rod, because like DeAndre was there when it was good, and then he was there when it got bad. And now he's trying to deal with that. Deal with this train wreck. But as for his street smarts and book smarts and stuff like that, and the school versus the corner, I mean, I think it's tough, like you said, like going to school and then doing that, and then just seeing like, you kind of start weighing the options. Like, well, if I just stuck to this, I'd be a lot more happy and a lot stress-free. But this will give me the short-term gain that I want. Whereas if I go to like school or something like that, it'd be a lot of struggling, maybe little success, but in the long run, it might help me out, or it might not. Where he only sees like the corner as, no, if I do this and I do that, I'm gonna get this. But if I try to go beyond that, then I know I'm gonna mess up or somewhere and stuff like that. Whereas for school, it's just like uncharted territory. So there is that. Boo is funny. I feel like DeAndre has like two younger brothers, honestly. So I had like two descriptions of Boo. Boo is like a younger brother of DeAndre, because DeAndre always has to take care of him and tell him like what's what, because I don't think Boo ain't got no common sense. But that started to be like, oh, what if Boo was like the unintelligent, drugged up form of DeAndre? And so if that would have been like DeAndre, if he would have just been like dumb as hell, just not knowing anything and stuff like that. So I was just like, oh, Boo might be the alter ego of DeAndre, but just a very, very like lower level of DeAndre. So
that's cool. That's cool. Let's see. I was thinking along the same lines. Like Boo is like DeAndre. Boo is like DeAndre in school, where maybe Boo could be like DeAndre on the corner, like where, because maybe Boo could be really good in school, whereas DeAndre is not that good in school. And like DeAndre is good on the corner, but Boo is not good on the corner. So it's kind of like it could go in that sort of way. But then at the end of the day, we know that DeAndre is smart. And stuff. It's just about applying yourself.
He's like the laziest, smartest person you know.
Exactly. But he's doing what's attracting to him, because even then, like I wanted to go back to the corner versus school. Like, in the book, it was saying there was something inside that made DeAndre hold back. Something that kept him from declaring once and for all the corner would be his place in the world. In the back of his mind, he told himself that he hadn't yet made a choice, and he was smart. All his teachers said so. He could play at this corner, but step off when it was time. And DeAndre trusted himself. he would know when it was time. And so from that, I then looked at it as like, when I read that part, then I remembered back how the book started. There's a quote in the book by Kafka, and it goes by, "You can hold back from the suffering of the world. You have free permission to do so, and it is in accordance with your nature. But perhaps this very holding back is the one suffering you could have avoided." And I was really, when I first read this back then, I really had trouble understanding it until I was looking at the synonyms to see, okay, what does hold back mean? And it means like you can support the suffering of the world and you have free permission to do so, and it is in line in a manner conforming with your nature. But perhaps this very support is the one suffering that could have been avoided. And to me, this quote in relation to DeAndre, I felt that this is definitely Gary's son, because just the fact of that sense of mindset of knowing, he knows when it's time. Like even with Gary, in the first episode, he's saying like, you know, like, I'm gonna get through this. I just need some time, you know? And so it's something that there's something that's supporting their suffering in a way, and it could be avoided. And I think at the end of the day, it's fear. It's something that I don't know if I'm ready to go back and fight again, because that's really what it is. But then even in the book, remember it said that DeAndre, he's all about the struggle, you know, and so it's something, I just found it really interesting that it's just him trusting himself and knowing when it's time to go back and do things legally and following through with school, you know, and so he wants to, it's just like all of us, it's all universal. It's like with weight, you know, yeah, I'm gonna get to it when it's time, and stuff, but then, you know, but it's like, what's holding you back? Exactly. You know, and then you, because it's that same question that you saw within the pattern of Charles S. Dutton asking DeAndre and Gary, like, well, what's happening? Yeah. You know, and they're like, I'll catch you later. Yeah. You know, and it's like, okay. And so coming off of that, when he goes back home, what did you think of "I'm gonna do good, Ma, you'll see"? Like, how did you think about that and that quote?
As you said, like, that is Gary's son. So I feel like everyone has like these phrases that they'll say, saying that like, oh, like, I'm gonna get right, I'm gonna get clean, and then all it takes is like a week, maybe a few days, and then they're just like back at the thing. I just think that they go through, you know, one of those like cases of trauma or like a hardship, and you know, you just talk to yourself, you're like, you know what, like, this is gonna be like the last time I do this, like, I'm gonna get right, blah blah blah. Like, I feel like we've all had that conversation, whether it's like, oh, we drank too much one night and you're like, man, I ain't drinking ever again. Man, I'm gonna get right, we're gonna work out, we're gonna eat right, we're gonna do everything good now. And then, you know, just that next day, like, I'm gonna get right tomorrow. Yeah, party on Saturday. Yeah. Be like, maybe the next day. Yep. So that's how I felt with that like line and stuff like that. He just went through a tough hardship with, you know, realizing his dad was taking his drugs and stuff like that, and now he owes all this money to his drug dealer, and so he's like, shoot, well, I need to, like, it's like, I'm gonna get right, like, I'm gonna just get my whole life together and I'll be good. Yeah. So that's how I felt about like that line. Yeah. Now with his like legal work versus his illegal work, that was like a part of the whole like I'm gonna get right, so I'm gonna like start doing this. So at least he took a step forward into trying to get himself better. Where I thought it was like a good turning point in his character development. So that's when that because it was like the time where Gary got locked up and it sobered him up for doing it a little while. So I thought this was like his sobering up little time that he needs to do. I think I gave him a little perspective on life and a reevaluation on how much power he has over his own life as well. Because at this point we just felt like he was kind of, I mean, he's smart, but he's still influenced by his surroundings. You know, when he would always get like coached up by like the older guys, he's like, well, you can't be doing this or you can't be doing that. And he's like, yeah, whatever. Like I can do whatever I want and stuff like that. But but he's still influenced by them because he's still gonna think about what they said. You know, at the end of the day. But I feel like this gave him like more power over his own self because some people don't have that much power over their own life that they don't feel like. So I felt like this gave him that extra reassurance. Although I think it also brought him to the realization, showing him how hard work really is, compared to doing his illegal kind of work. Because what was it, at the end of the week he brought home maybe like $100, and doing all that stuff, being surrounded by all the food, all that crab meat that he's allergic to. Like, well, he's really putting himself through some hardship just to make $100. Whereas as his illegal work, he would have made like $200 in a few hours. Yeah. Just a few hours, not like a whole week. So I think he probably would have to wait. Like 2 weeks, let alone like a whole month, just to make $200 at his legal work. Yep. So that's what I thought of that quote of him trying to get clean in that whole little subsection of him, you know, finally getting a real job and trying to do right. But yeah.
With him, just I'm gonna do good, Ma, you'll see, and like his legal and versus his illegal work. Like in the book, it said that when things are going bad, the question for DeAndre is always where in hell is the money going to come from? But when things are going good, it's exactly the opposite. Where do the money go? And stuff. And so it says he's effing up and can hardly bring himself to worry it. It's all so damn easy. He could walk off this corner now and have money enough to carry him through a week or two, come back with another package, and he'd be flush again in a day. And so, you know, just him, easy money is really, really great. Easy money is just really, really great. And, you know, and then just his thoughts on Bugsy, his supplier. It even says, like, in the book, like, in Baltimore, anyone can sell anywhere. So as long as there are fiends, as long as there are fiends willing to pay now, a drug corner is all about product and name recognition. And so, you know, with him trying to do good, yet, you know, what you said about his surroundings, it's very, the corner life is very attractive. It's very easy. Like, all you got to do is like, I need money now. So all I need to do is find a supplier, and just around that area, you know, anybody could be your supplier, and everything like that. So it's just, it's very hard to choose that legal versus illegal work. The attraction of money is always there. So yeah. What about you? What did you think about Bugs? Well, I just want to say something like about Bugsy, like the fact that you're giving it to kids.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, dang, man. But you know, he probably started the same age as DeAndre, maybe even younger. So it's like, it's a tradition
Yeah.
and stuff like that. So
I mean,
what was your thoughts?
yeah, it's messed up that he's giving drugs to kids and having them sell for them. But then,
Mm-hmm.
as another thing, I was like, man, he might just be a smarter version of DeAndre because he's just like he is the supplier. He probably started off as like a street dealer, you know what I'm saying? But now he like supplies all his other dealers with the drugs and stuff. And I bet like his way of like doing business is like, well, if I get him young, then I can probably have him forever because I'm gonna teach him how to do it and stuff like that. And once you do that, then you're good. Like then you have an employee for the next few years. And a few years on the streets probably a long time, especially if you're selling product like that all the time. But I don't know what to think of Bugsy yet. I thought he was kind of scary when he showed up to Fran's place, and I was like, dude, what if he actually does something to Fran? I was like, what is DeAndre gonna do then? Because that's what I kept thinking. I was like, dude, what if Bugsy does something to Fran? Like, what is DeAndre gonna do?
Yeah.
I mean, DeAndre did warn Fran, like it's not my stuff, like it's somebody else's, and like whenever you hear anything like that, like there's any like movies we've ever seen or shows where it's like you mess with someone's like stuff, it's probably not the best thing. Like it's like, this isn't even mine. You're like, it's not yours. Oh man, like I'd hate to run into the person that it belonged to. So that was like my kind of thoughts on Bugsy. I was like, but they like he had that like, that soft hand, that soft but like firm stance of like, well, I'm gonna need that money and like the rest of my stuff. So I hope you figure it out. And then he left. I was like, well, I mean, that was kind of nice of him. That could have ended way differently. Like, cause like, what is anybody else gonna do on the like corner? Like, honestly, like everyone knows like who Bugsy is, and he's like, you probably messed with them, and you probably deserve that. Because that's what I kind of think. Like at the end of the day, like no one's probably gonna help her. Everyone's just gonna think like, you messed up. You should have like not.
Because even like her sister afterwards was like, you got rent? So because even in the book they say that they're staying in that one room and stuff. And so because then I'm even wondering, DeAndre was starting to get hot like with the police, because there was a moment where he keeps getting caught, and then Bugsy says like, we gotta
take a break.
What did you think about him, like, saying something? It was that more so towards his business, or was it more so looking out for DeAndre?
It might be a little bit of both. One, on the business side of it, he was like, well, DeAndre could probably be his top seller. You know what I'm saying? That's for like, that could be business and just for his own protection. But on like trying to protect DeAndre, I don't know, you don't really know yet. I mean, we saw Bugsy in the beginning when I think we saw him right when Tarika, when Tarika came by and stuff like that, and tried to tell him like, oh, you can't be like doing all this for the girls and stuff like that. So there's like some like aspects to where he was like coaching them on stuff like that. But I don't know. Maybe it's a little bit of both. We really haven't seen the full story of Bugsy or what Bugsy's all about.
Right. What were your thoughts on DeAndre deciding to participate in school? Like,
I thought that was like more of him trying to, get right. That was like on the lines of him starting his, like, trying to get his life together. It's like, no, I'm gonna do right, Ma. Like, I'm gonna go get a job. I'm gonna go to school. I'm gonna actually participate, because like when he raised his hand up, everyone kind of laughed because like, well, DeAndre, you don't participate. You just sit in the back and just go to sleep, stuff like that. So I thought it was cool to see him, when he actually tries at school, he does well, because they're all like kind of suspicious on whether or not he can like read these lines, and then when he like goes to that tryout, I guess, or the hearing, like he read it well. Read it well. He was like powerful enough, and everyone's like, oh, okay, like you can actually do this. It's like, like I mean, like everyone would think, like you paint this picture of yourself as being like this person who doesn't care about school or this thug and everything like that. But then when you like get in the spotlight of like actually trying, you just be like, no, I could always do this. I just didn't want to do it.
Yep.
I'm like, then that's just dumb. That's just so dumb. I was like, you're good at this, but you don't want to do it.
Yeah.
It's just like you're the smartest, laziest person I know.
Yeah.
I thought it was cool to see it in the whole let freedom ring, you know, with stuff like that. I thought it was a good like reflection on like, man, I was like, oh yeah, DeAndre's doing it. He's finally getting free of the corner and doing all that bad stuff. So that's how I like. It was like that moment. It was like, oh, he's doing it.
Yeah.
He's doing it.
Yeah. Yeah, with him like participating in the speech and just him having that powerful voice and just knowing what he was saying, it was really great. And then seeing his principal and his teachers like smile and clap, it was really great to see. And like, and just seeing like, I'm gonna go ahead and go to like Miss Davis, just seeing Miss Davis just like literally beam after he gave his MLK speech. It was really great because in the book, Miss Davis, her name is Rose Davis, and she says she has created a haven at Francis M. Woods for those rebellious, damaged spirits shipwrecked and abandoned by the rest of the city school system. So she knows what her neighborhood is about, what's going on. She even knows about DeAndre and his friends and what they're doing on the corner. But she's really there. I feel like she's like Miss Maddie and stuff. But she's just really there saying, you know, you're still a bright light. Like, you're still great, you know? And so with him having to go back to school and, you know, having to say, yes, Miss Davis, I'll do better. And she really holds him accountable to say, I want you to write it down, you know, to say, you know, you put this on a concrete paper. This is like a contract, you know, to really, your word is your bond, you know, and to really follow through on that. And I think it's kind of, I don't want to say upsetting, or we just don't see the fact that, yeah, you can always tell the kid, you know, you have to do good, go to school, stay in class, but it's kind of like, you don't really know what it is that they're doing, that they're struggling with. Because with DeAndre, he does have to look at, when is my next meal gonna be? You know, and stuff. And so it didn't really show so much in the book yet of what Miss Davis is doing to know, when you see that this is happening in my community, you know, you can't just, you know, tell them. You have to really kind of put
yourself in their shoes.
And really try to guide them and try to help them and stuff. And so you can't just tell, you really need to show them, because they don't know, you know. And so what did you think about like Miss Davis and even the basketball coach?
I thought Miss Davis was like that, I thought Miss Davis was like that stern mother that DeAndre never had. I mean, Fran could be pretty stern, but her words are like, so there's no weight to her words per se. Whereas Miss Davis, where she looks put together, she runs a damn school, you know, like, no, her weight, like, her words mean like law. Whereas like Fran's words are just like dust in the wind. She can say one thing and then just mean something else entirely. You know what I'm saying? And then, yeah, but like as you said, like she knows these kids and knows where they come from and stuff like that. But it's definitely hard to reach kids when you can't go home with them as well.
Right.
You know, because you only have them for this much like amount of time where like you're their parent now, but at the end of the day, like they don't go home with you, so you can't be on them 24/7.
Right.
But I thought Miss Davis was a good mother per se, like a mother hen for DeAndre. that's where he's like super respectful and stuff like that, because he doesn't address Fran as like Miss McGollum. Like, no, he doesn't say yes mom or yes ma'am or anything like that. He just like dismisses her, but goes back to her when he like needs her. But you'll never call her mom, you know.
Yeah.
Or I guess he did call her mom when he like went through that whole "I'm gonna get right, mom."
Yeah.
But,
but like most
but
of the
like
time.
but most interactions he never calls Fran mom or anything like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, Miss Davis I thought was a really cool and uplifting character for DeAndre, because she was like the only one, like you said, to make sure he said this contract he said he was going to do with her. Like I could kick you out if I wanted to. Like I could totally do it, but everyone else tells me like, or all the other professors say that you can do it though. You just have to put your mind to it. And I was like, and I want to believe them, right? You're like, yes, Miss Davis. Like, yeah, I can do it. Like, don't worry. Like, I can do it. Don't worry. I got it.
Yeah.
But as for the basketball coach, or going towards the basketball coach, you know, I didn't think much of him per se when he like first showed up.
Yeah.
Because like at that whole scene when they finally like get in the court and they just start like running around and not even doing anything, they're just playing around, and he's like trying to like organize them. I thought it was like a wasted effort, because, you know, these kids just wanted a place to play instead of being out on the street or behind the alley playing. So, but when like they started doing everything and started organizing and stuff like that, as DeAndre does, like you said, he resists like just the order of things and just does his own thing. And when the guy tells him to check himself, I think that was I mean, it should have been a powerful moment, but it was like more one of those things where he's like, well, who the hell are you? Kind of thing. Like, who are you to tell me what to do and stuff like that? But I think he was just trying to let him know, like, you can't always do the things that you want to do, because, you know, there are some greater powers that you aren't in control of yet, that you don't understand yet. So, I mean, I think the basketball coach, I thought he was going to be like, you know, a cool person, another like influential person in DeAndre's life, but it seemed like he just walked away from the situation as well, like everyone else does in the neighborhood.
I really loved your comparison between Miss Davis and Fran. Like, because then, I mean, the fact that you'll respect Miss Davis more because she does look more put together, clear-headed, versus Fran, like, she's just her words are just a dust in the wind. I think that's so powerful. That's so That's so great to hear. And it makes me want to now think, like, compare and contrast, like, Miss Davis and Fran. But Fran, like, she's a powerful figure in DeAndre's life just because she is his mother and everything. And so, just what did you think about Fran, and then just even after his release, when she had to go and pick him up and everything?
Yeah, like, that was fun. I thought it was just like a comical, you know, like any other parent, like how I see like people at like a grocery store, and like I just see their kids just yelling at the top of their lungs and just acting a fool, and you just see the parent just like rolling their eyes, just trying to get through it. And I was just like, when someone was like, well, do you want it back? And you're like, not really. My life would be a lot easier if they weren't around. But I thought that was just like a comical moment, nothing like against Fran or DeAndre or something like that. I think that was just like a little comical moment. But like I said, like, that's why I say there's no weight to her words, because she'll be like, you need to stay away from it. And then she'll ask, like, what happened to the rest of it? He was like, man, I still got it, like, at the house and stuff like that. She's like, well, that's dead. I'm like, she literally just tried to give advice, but now saw an opportunity to get high, and immediately that took over everything. And so that's why I just don't think her words mean anything. He's like, you need to get away from it, you need to get to school, but give me those drugs, and then we'll call it even, and stuff like that. Because, like, at the end of it, because she's like thinking like, well, you're still thinking like a little dumbass kid, blah 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 blah, and then she's all like, well, what about school? He's like, what about it? Like, you were talking about trying to take all my drugs and stuff. So it's just, that was the beginning of it was funny, and then just like just seeing her trying to be a mother, and then immediately go straight to the attics. This has like they're just like two-sided coin. You'll be one way, but then when you see an opportunity, you're gonna flip immediately.
Yeah. What I wanted to say about Fred and his advice, her advice to him after his release. I was like, y'all need to quiet down because y'all are just
right, like, right near the precinct and everything.
And, like the cops were coming out and looking at them like, I can hear that you still got a stash. So, but what's funny is that actually in the book, it was actually DeAndre who came up with that idea, not Fran. So, but it was still cool to see that how Fran will like flip the script and say like, well, just say that it's dead, and then you can, get the rest of the cash. But even though he was able to get the drugs, or not get the drugs, but get the profits off of his stash that was supposedly dead, it was Fran was the one that actually got his stash at the end of the day. And so Fran is definitely a character, and for her to say like you need to stay away from it, Dre, it's kind of like, is she telling herself that too in a way, or is she just like, you just have to stay away from it because I know, well she knows because she was telling him like, you see what it does to your father, to me, to our whole family, and everything like that. Because even with her relationship with Gary, and like her conversation with him, seeing DeAndre like improving, he's going to school, he's got himself a job, it made them feel hopeful. What was really sad was of what Fran confessed of, her parents, her family were happy that they fell. And I was like, dang, your family isn't even willing to be happy that you're living a great life. But then it depends on how they treated their family, like, oh, now you want some, so this and that. But like that scene, it was just very hopeful and sad at the same time. Because it also reminded me of Bradley Noel, like the lead singer of Sublime, who passed away from his addictions. And so, and he talks about his struggles of his addictions through his music, through songs like in Bad Fish, and I believe in even the infamous Santeria. And so, and there's actually a great article back in 2011 in OC Weekly. They wrote an article on him and how his dad remembered him. And there's a 3-minute YouTube video on his dad. But yeah, it was just it was sad, it was hopeful. And then just even still with Fran telling Gary like, you need me to go, that was, what did you think of just her relationship with Gary, and just her being like physically overpowered by DeAndre, or just even trying to get to the detox program? Like,
so like those whole scenes were like, they're like deep per se, because like after like episode 1, like you didn't know much, like you just think that Fran and Gary were just like two people who just really hate each other, and stuff like that. But like this one, it kind of delved a little bit deeper into like the relationship, where in the flashback you can see like where one house Fran didn't like, because this wasn't her scene, this wasn't me, like I don't want to live next to all these people who think like I do this, do that, like that's not me. So you can see where Fran had like a strong and firm hold on who she was, which was cool. Like, hey, her word had some weight to it. Like, no, I'm not going to live here, even if you think this house is great and has a nice backyard. And so they went to the next house, and she's like, oh, yeah, I can do this. Like, yeah, this is nice. and so she finally like, got her way with some things, you know. To see like, you know, Gary actually listened to Fran, and, you know, took her ideas into consideration and stuff like that, and be like, oh, you know, like, no, we're gonna live somewhere where we both like, it's gonna be nice for everybody and stuff like that. And then at that moment where they saw DeAndre, you know, doing good and, you know, getting clean and stuff like that, like you said, it was like a glimmer of hope, but also sad at the same time, just to, you know, see them like, you know, maybe we can do it too. Just like the thought of like, oh, like, yeah, we can do it too. All we need to do is like do this and do that, and we can do it. But like, it goes back to like that whole phrase, like, oh, I'm gonna do right, like, I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna finally get clean, I'm gonna do this, do that. But it's just like, they know what to do, but fail to do it at the same time. Just like, as you said, that quote, like, what holds you back from doing it, and I think it's just fear. Fear of just like, you know, if I put all this time and effort into it, what if it doesn't work? I just feel like that was the same instance where Fran told or asked Gary, do you need me to go, while he does his drugs, which I still don't understand why he does not want anyone seeing him do it, which is like super weird. But I think a good moment, but also like a sad moment for Fran, when she was like she actually walked her ass to that damn detox program, thinking she could just like get in, which I thought was like a thing too. Like, I thought they could just go to it and, you know, we'll accept you. But then again, like, as a business standpoint, I don't know if that really works, because you probably get like 1,000 people just walking through the door. You can't help 1,000 people in one day or something like that. But I think it was like a similarity to like what DeAndre was going through when he was like trying to clean himself up too. It was just, it's not that easy just to like say, I'm gonna go do this, because she told him, like, well, if you're actually serious, like, you need to come back, or you need to call us every Tuesday for 2 weeks, and blah blah blah, just make sure we know you're serious about it. Just like how DeAndre had to go to work every day just to make pennies and be in this, you know, toxic environment. It's actually a toxic environment, which is funny. He was in a toxic environment, whereas Fran was trying to go to a detox environment. But it just happened to just not go her way, because she was just like, that's too much work. And it's just like, it plays on people's nature. Like, if I look at it, if I were to like describe human beings, you know, it'd just be like, they would want things to be as easy as possible. You know, I just want to come here and get what I need without having to do any work. That's pretty much it. And that's what she kind of expected with this program and stuff like that. But that was like it was really sad for me to see her just like walk out of that place and just kind of just run. And I was just like, well, there goes another one that said that they were gonna change. So I could totally see how this is the family. Like, they are all each other's like significant other, no matter what, because they all have the same mannerisms. They all say the same things. They just happen to be in different states right now.
Right. Yeah, definitely. You know, the first step is always the hardest. You know, and so it's just like with anybody trying to lose weight, you know, you have to go to the gym. And it's like, the first thing that you have to do is just go. Just you know, just there. Drive. You know, just be at the door. And sometimes that can be just the goal. Like, I just need to be at the door today, and then tomorrow I'll go in, and then the next day I'll get on the bike, and then you know,
baby steps.
But it's really great to see the just how the parents were inspired by DeAndre. Basically, for them to say like, okay, if I see that he can do it, then I can do it, because he's basically from I created him. So, but it's really great to see that sense of spirit from DeAndre, because you really see that spirit from Gary. You know, that's really Gary's spirit and stuff. And I don't want to throw like Fran off the bus, because Fran, she has that street smart. She knows, you know, and so that's where DeAndre gets his street smarts from. And so with him like being like with her being physically overpowered by DeAndre, I'm sure that was, I mean, the look in her eyes was very like, oh dang. I think that was, I think that too reminded me of with our brother.
Oh yeah.
And with our mom.
Yeah.
Was it mom or dad?
That was mom.
Mom, what did he say? You're not gonna hit me this time, or something. But just having to be a mom and having to struggle with your addictions, because then even too, like, she's having to steal, you know, for her son's birthday and stuff, and even DeAndre was like, aren't you like wanted in 3 counties or 3 stores? Like, aren't you banned, not wanted, but banned from 3 stores? And she was like, that don't stop the show. So it's just like, but you see that when she decided to do it, and then when she sees that she was getting caught, then you see once again that fear within her eyes, like okay, like dang. And so, you know, with her trying to get into that detox program and seeing kind of like going back to DeAndre's saying, I'm gonna do good, Ma, you'll see. I wonder if she's trying to say the same thing to herself, you know, like, I'm gonna do good, you know, you'll see. But it's kind of like, once again, unfortunately, they fall back into their ways. Because even with DeAndre, like, he went back to the corner. Like, even though he tried to do good, he went back. Yeah. And it's very hard, and it's like what we said in the first episode. It's, you know, it's that environment that you're in, and it's very difficult, and it's very, very hard to try to get out of your environment when even the resources that you have aren't there. Because even then, the resources aren't there. Because even back in the day, because I was just reading the new Jim Crow, and like during that time, they were putting a lot of money into like the war on drugs, but then they were taking money out of the rehabs, and so it's really unfortunate that you know, this infinite cycle that she's trying to get in, yet y'all are taking the funds out because you guys are funding this supposed war and stuff. And so what did you even think about her having to steal like for D-Rod?
I just felt like going back to the being physically overpowered by DeAndre, I felt like that was the physical representation of Fran not having control over her own like life, not having like the power to like say what she wants to say or do what she wants to do. I felt like that was like her not having control over her own life. So she was pretty much she had to steal. She didn't have any other options but to steal for her son. And you know, it was still a testament to Fran. Like, you know, although I might be wanted in all these stores and stuff like that, I'll still try to do it. So she still had like the motherly qualities that we hope every mother would have for their own child, which is good to see. But then it was just like kind of like, it was funny to see at first, then kind of just heartbreaking when, like, you know, she's just hiding under a car trying not to get caught or go to jail on her son's birthday. Yeah. And so that was kind of like, that's just rough to see, that some people are just pretty much subjected. That's what it was, subjected to having to steal instead of, you know, doing it by other means or having to think of other things to supply their kid with. But it was still, you know, heartwarming to see DeAndre do a good job and have presents for there at the end of the day, saying that Bo owed him something. So I don't know how he got it. Right. So I don't know if he like, because I know they were both struggling on money at that point, because that was like when like Bugsy came by and then, you know, we need rent and stuff like that. Oh yeah. And so I was like, I don't know where they came up with the money, or if Bo just like ended up stealing a whole damn like Toys R Us. Yeah. Because there was a lot of toys in there.
Yeah, it was a lot of toys.
Like, that was like a carload of toys. Yeah. That's not like the jacket that Fran had on. Like, there's no way all those toys are going to be up in their thing. Yeah. But I don't know what favor it was, but I mean,
Yeah.
it's nice to see that, at least someone has some pull around the neighborhood.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess if it's anybody, it has to be DeAndre.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
so yeah, I think that was one sad to see, but still satisfying to know that D-Rod got what he wanted on his birthday. Because
Definitely.
he's still a kid.
Yeah.
He doesn't know anything, doesn't know any better
Mm-hmm.
yet. So you don't want to like deprive him. You don't want to start this process of him turning into the rest of them.
Mm-hmm.
I guess like D-Rod would be like their last hope of like trying to get someone out of this kind of situation or environment. So they don't want to start him early like they did with DeAndre, and I think DeAndre knows that too.
Yeah.
He's just like, I'm gonna protect him as much as I can, for the time being.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, and that's such a great of fruition or just a perspective on the family itself, because at the end of the day, it does seem that now D-Rod is that last hope in a way. DeAndre, he still has that hope because he's still inspiring his parents, which is great. And so even though all this negativity is having, there's still hope because there's still these kids. And so I think this is a great way to transition to, now let's look at Miss Ella, who's the community rec leader, because with Miss Ella, I cried what Miss Ella had to say, because I just kind of feel like this is what I'm doing in a way, like of me just trying to get involved and just trying to participate and stuff, and just trying with this network. And so I just want to give a little bit of background on Miss Ella from the book, is that she has a total of 3, maybe 5 kids. And unfortunately, she lost her youngest and only daughter from a shooting, and her daughter was 10 years old. But she groomed 3 boys. I believe 2 of them were hers, which were her, yeah. And so, who grew up on the streets of Fayette, but fortunately, they never turned to the corner, and instead had went to serve for our country. So they went to the Navy or the Army. And so, however, in the book, they introduced Miss Ella preparing to attend a funeral to one of the boys who escaped the corner, but died to serve our country. And so the quote she continues to repeat to herself is, "It doesn't make any sense," when she looks around at her neighborhood, her community, and also within her own personal life, because she too was a victim to heroin when she found out her husband also used. It said in the book that love kept her blind until the day she found his tools. And so just hearing this, a little bit of background of Miss Ella and her being this community rec leader, really saving, she's like that, saving the kids in a way. And she's still seeing the boys as boys, the C&B crew, DeAndre and his crew, she sees them as her sons, and so she sees them the same way as Miss Davis sees them. She sees them and stuff. And just what is your take on Miss Ella, and just even her interview with Charles at the end? And yeah.
Miss Ella seems like that bright light in the neighborhood that everyone needs. Definitely a very like influential and powerful character. Maybe not yet, because I think for right now, I think the boys would probably take her for granted for right now, because nothing like, not to like disrespect her or anything like that. I just think that they finally have like the space to like go to or something like that, because I feel like Miss Ella's like that one teacher that every student was cool with and they could joke around with and stuff like that. They could lie to, but they know like she wasn't gonna like harass them about it. So it was like kind of like that kind of relationship. So nothing like, it's not a disrespect or respect kind of thing. It's just like, I like you for like you not judging me right now. So that's why I think that's how she serves. She's like a no judgment zone. But she wants you to like be there if you're gonna be there. I think her interview with Charles, I thought it was like, I don't know, I feel like the way Charles asks these questions is like super rude, or like, or not in the proper way. 'Cause I feel like, yeah, it's like straightforward, which is like good in some aspects, but like when you're trying to like judge a situation, it's probably like you need to rephrase it in a different way.
Better etiquette, do you
Yeah, because he'd be like, "Oh, what are you doing with these kids?" And like, "Why do you do this?" It's like, "Well, wasn't your daughter like killed?" And I was like, "Why would you say something like that? Like, are you trying to like gauge a reaction or emotion?"
Yeah.
So that's how I feel like. I don't know. I feel like he has better ways to phrase it, but then she reminds me of like that one kid in like your classroom that's like always happy. Like, don't understand why she's always happy or he or she's happy, but like they're just always happy. Like, well, that's the happy kid of the class because they ain't not gonna bother them. Even if you say like, yeah, didn't your like parents die in a car? Yeah, but now I got these other parents. I'd be like, what the heck? So that's how I rephrase like. When I see like his interviews with her, I feel like she answers it with such like a positive attitude.
Yeah.
That it's just like so hard to like get her down.
Yeah.
So I feel like that's what like Charles was trying to do. I'm not trying to say like he was trying to do that, but I just feel like the overall attitude and like tone that he comes at with these questions isn't in the best way. It feels like he's trying to like gauge a reaction or something like that. And then her view towards like, the neighborhoods and the kids. I think it's great because I feel like we all just need that one person who sees like the good in people. You know, it's definitely tough when you like put in a situation where you're just like get these people away from me, but like other people might see it in a different light, like, oh, they just don't know any better, but like I know you can do better or something like that. I think we all just need characters or people in our lives that see like the good in others, and rather than like what they think they're gonna do or something like that. But I feel like she's a definitely good outlet on the neighborhood for sure.
Yeah, definitely. I never really thought like Charles' questions was rude. I think that's cool that you saw it as, I don't know if it's cool, but it's like it's interesting that you saw it as rude, because to me his question is like, you know what's going on, like you see it, because I think even too Charles is from the neighborhood, so he also knows the people there.
Because he did say that, like, I was from these streets,
right?
Like, I know.
Yeah, and so it's kind of like me, and then I know someone on the corner, and then I keep seeing this person, and then it's like, okay, I'm gonna go ahead and ask this question, and I'm gonna be like, yeah, nice and cordial, but to a certain point, I know you and stuff. Okay. It's kind of like the same thing, like just up the street, a tree. The workers came in and like cut a tree, and I was like, why you cut the tree down? And stuff. True.
Okay. Yeah. All right. Then.
Know? But
no, I get it.
Okay. But still, but I feel like with her interview, it's very real, very poignant. Not saying too many words, but hinting at what's really happening in her community. We know, she knows, Charles knows, she's not dumb, but I love her hopefulness, because through her hope, it gives me hope with dismantling fear within our community, just by producing this program. Because, at the end of the day, she'll always see them as well as the rest of her community as people, as individuals, just like herself. Because even in the beginning, when she goes up and walks up to Blue and Fat Kurt, she really looks at them as people. She's like, oh, how are you doing, Blue? Are you gonna come and help us? The kids really love to paint. Like, she knows that they do heroin, but she's still saying, we still want you. You still have artwork that we want you to come, and because kids love the arts, and we still want you to paint and stuff. And so, although through all the trials and tribulations and sudden and unforeseen loss she has witnessed, like, her motto of her being and living continues today, as this network's motto. It's see me as I see you, and hear me as I hear you, and everything like that. So, with this story, it still continues today, which is really, really great. And so, did you see any other shows, like any similar shows?
Not this time.
Not this time?
Yeah, not this time, unfortunately. I
No
don't watch
worries.
too many, like, charged shows
Yeah,
like
yeah.
that, but I'm still trying to find some, but
Mhm.
can't find any.
Yeah.
Not yet.
Yeah, no worries, no worries. Yeah, for me, I'm still watching The Trade, so I'm on episode 2. And so basically with episode 2, there's just killings everywhere. We should laugh at that.
Yeah.
But that's what they were focusing on. It was
Yeah.
killings everywhere in the US and in Mexico, and I just find this interesting because, like I said before, I was really upset under these particular conditions. It's now an issue. However, it still sparks my interest because at the end of the day, you realize we're all struggling. And that episode 2, it's in Columbus, Ohio. A young woman named Ashley had 3 kids, OD'd, and now there's an investigation taking place in the episode. And then further, it was mentioned that Columbus, Ohio is the number one country, is number one in the country of opioid deaths. So that's interesting. And then police were suspecting her ex, who introduced her to the drug, and they found texts on the night of her death. And so what was interesting, that the detective informed Ashley's family that corrupting another person with drugs is a 2 to 8 year sentence. It's a mandatory time. It's 2 to 8 years of corrupting somebody. So even though she died, like, he'll only get that much. If it was if it was him, you know. And then another thing that stood out was that in Guerrero, Mexico, where I don't want to call him the kingpin, but he's the protector. He's like the producer as well as the distributor of the city and the neighborhood. He's being threatened by another group, and they're wanting his mountain with poppies. And they were saying something that the drug is made in China but smuggled into Mexico. I wasn't quite sure. I need to still see more onto that. But even any like relations, do you still see it like relatable to you today? Like any news headlines or just any personal headlines?
No, nothing I've seen. I'm pretty, out of tune with today's news and stuff like that, even though, like, it's always in the background. I can always hear it. It's always Trump this and Trump that.
Right.
But nothing on the lines of, like, drugs being shipped around like that.
Right.
Yet. But no.
Yeah. Well, what I found relatable today was basically in Orange County, they're having a needle exchange program. It's now being terminated because you know what was happening at the Santa Ana riverbed with the homeless situation and everything like that. So basically what this needle exchange program, it was like The Wire, because they were giving out free needles. Like, bring your needles, bring your dirty needles, and we'll give you like 20, like plus 20 to say that we're trying to prevent, you know, disease and hepatitis. But I'm like, you're feeding into the addiction and stuff. But fortunately enough, it's dismantled. Like, they had a town meeting, but I was like, this is The Wire that's happening right now in the corner. Because even too, just talking to like the homeless, like they were saying that, like, I ran into one homeless lady, and she said that they were building, like, she said like it's like concentration camps and stuff
For homeless?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
But you know, this is word of mouth.
Yeah.
You don't really know, but it's kind of like, wow, this is crazy. And then also what I found relatable to today was also with the new Jim Crow, which came out back in January 5th, 2010. And there's a section titled Gangsta Love in chapter 4, The Cruel Hand, where a 16-year-old kid named Ronnie, who's African American, on probation for a drug-related offense, explains embracing the stigma that is put on him in this way. And so he explains that his grandmother keeps asking him when he's gonna go back. and when are you going to get arrested again? And even with his school, like his teachers threaten him, or they call the cop on him again and again, and the cops keep checking on him. And when he sees this, he says, it doesn't matter where I go, I'm seen as a criminal. I just say, if you're going to treat me as a criminal, then I'm gonna treat you like I am one. You feel me? I'm gonna make you shake so that you can say that there is a reason for calling me a criminal. I grew up knowing that I had to show these fools, it's adults who criminalize youth, that I wasn't going to take their shit. I started to act like a thug even if I wasn't one. Part of it was me trying to be hard. The other part was them treating me like a criminal. And so I still find it similar to today with, like I said, with K-Dot's music, and even with DeAndre introducing himself. This is back in 2010. You know, we're in 2018. We're now learning about the whole school to prison pipeline situation and just all of this. And it's like, there in the book, it said that a gay activist once put it, only by fully embracing the stigma itself can one neutralize the sting and make it laughable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I can see that, because like, it's like when was it that famous interview that Oprah had with like Jay-Z, and how Oprah doesn't like using the N-word, but Jay-Z uses it all the time and stuff like that, and she's like, how can you use such a word that like harmed us and discriminated us so like much to make us feel like we were like three-fifths of a person. And his answer was, well, I use it to empower us now, because one, if you use the word so many times in so many different situations among each other, it loses its sting. So as they said, the more you embrace it, the less sting it has. You know what I'm saying? So like at now, it's like whenever I hear like someone not of color use the N-word, I won't get as heated about it as much as like I used to when I was younger. Like if I heard it, I'd be like, dude, like what the heck? Like you can't say that. That's freaking rude. Like who the hell do you think you are? Whereas like I'll still use it like in common sentences now. But you know, in different situations I'll use it, but in other situations I won't. It's just like that's the way it goes. And then even to relate to K-Dot, he goes back to the origins of the word, of the N-word, and it actually means royalty, like, because back in the day we were kings and stuff like that. And I was just like, oh, it's crazy, because as he goes back, because he goes back to that Oprah Winfrey interview and stuff like that, you know, I think we use it, but we're not using it properly. But we use it so much that it's lost its power that it used to have back in the freaking 1900s and stuff like that. You know what I'm saying? So that's why I can see I can totally understand that quote that person used.
And thank you. And it's great that like still this story, it's still relatable today, but then it's like something that like, even though it's relatable, has anything changed then? You know, it's like, but then is there a want or a need of change? But then there is a change, because like you said, with the N-word, now we know its origin, and it's like, oh, okay, now I'm gonna say it because it means this way. And now I'm fully now embracing it, even with like the gangster love, like with the slogans like black is powerful or black is beautiful and stuff like that. And so do you have a shameless plug? Do you have a personal segment that you'd like to do or anything like that?
Nope, not today.
Not today? Okay. I'll just go ahead and continue with like just the new faces in the series. For Miss Ella Thomas, it was played by Tyra Farrell. She was on Empire. She's been on a lot of things. Empire, as well as Poetic Justice, White Men Can't Jump, Jungle Fever, Boys in the Hood. But then she recently, sorry. She recently did an episode on Chicago PD. She played Miss Burton, and she was also on Tales on BET. And then we have Blue. He was played by Clint Plummer. He was on Sons of Anarchy as well as Southland, Suits, and he's recently in a new movie called A Woman's Worth, and he was also on Netflix Imperial Dreams too. So we also have Bread, played by the infamous Donald Rawlings. So we know he's good friends with Dave Chappelle, and he was on the Chappelle Show. He's also was on The Wire. He's actually too a writer. He was a writer on BET's Comic View, and he will make a guest spot on The Last OG with Tracy Morgan. And we have RC, who was played by Corey Parker Robinson. He was on The Wire as well, and the LA Riot Spectacular, and he's recently in Amateur, which is on Netflix, and he'll play a coach. And then we have Bunchy, who's Fran's sister, who is played by Maria Broom. She was Homicide: Life on the Street, The Wire, and last year she was on Fishbowl. She played Sister Mary. And just to give you like a heads up about the series, this series has won 3 Emmys and another 11 wins and 19 nominations in 2000 for outstanding miniseries, writing, and casting. And an IMDb reviewer that gave this series a 10 for 10 on IMDb stated that it's the most important film of the drug war. So it's kind of cool to see that here's the effects of the drug war, on the family and stuff. And so I just want to go ahead and give out some personal, just shameless plug of what's happening within the Orange County community. We have the Anaheim Health Fair and Citizenship Clinic, September 29th through the 30th from 8 a.m. to 2 p.m. And so that's free. So I say definitely get checked out. They'll definitely do basic checkups like medical, dental, vision, and now they have citizenship clinic for those seeking citizenship, which is really great. And then there's also a Black Minds Matter. It's a free online course for fall 2018. It's open to any site. It'll be during the week of October 8th, 2018. It's a 10-part series which addresses the experience and realities of Black boys and men and in education. The course will balance a discussion of issues facing Black male students as well as offer research-based strategies for improving their success. Broadcast time right now is TBD, but I'll post more about this course on our Facebook page as I've signed up that I'll be attending. Since I've signed up, I'll be attending that. So yeah, just check us out on Facebook. It's called No Fear Network, and we'll be posting events within our communities and what's going on. So we say thank you so much. Do you have anything else to say?
Oh, just thank you for listening.
All right.
Appreciate it.
Yes, cool. Thank you for listening. It was a long one, so we'll go ahead and cut it right now. Have a good day. Be safe, y'all. Peace.